Yo, what's up, everyone? My name is Zenitsu, and you're listening to the Digi Talks podcast, the show that covers various topics from news to meta developments and everything in between for the fine folks who love the Digimon trading card game. Just as a quick reminder, I do try to stream this live over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu. Fear not, because if you ever miss the live show, then you could always watch it on the YouTube channel under the channel of Zenitsu, as well as being on various podcasting platforms like Spotify for your viewing and listening pleasure. So please feel free to do that whole social media doobly-doo thing and leave that rating, like, follow, subscribe, hype, review, whatever, depending on the platform that you're listening on. It really does help support the podcast, or at least we like to think it does. So today I am back with Guardian Down from Team Blank, and we got basically just this big news bomb from Bandai. And we're going to be continuing to get big news bombs because we have just a lot of stuff coming up. Digicon's coming up. I know there's preparation for Worlds and whatever's going to be following Worlds. Then we have just their big roadmap and the nonstop stream of spoilers. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff happening. So we're mostly going to be talking about the news bomb that they dropped in regards to dual cards and everything around that. So that's the big topic. But before we get into that, we actually want to go to the comment section from last week's video. So if you want to be premiered in this or in next week's video, feel free to leave a comment on your thoughts about any of the topics we're talking about down in the comments below. And if it's good enough, then we'll consider reading it. So today we actually kind of have two. They're hitting on some slightly different notes, but for the most part, they're kind of on a similar page. If you want to read one of them, Guardian, feel free.
All right, so I'll go ahead and read this one from Green Hill Mario on the topic of BT24. I feel like this set is a lot more intended of a power creep set, whereas 23 felt more accidental. The fact that Dan Cannon plus In Between Theater carries any TS decks, AGO resolving twice being a real win condition because the game swings in AGO players favor ridiculously hard, Neptune Venus being a consistent and difficult board to crack, all with clear signs posting on what Bandai wants you to do. The good cards are very high quality that only really won't get a spotlight because of Hootie. So, as far as this comment, I agree. 24 was is a bit of a power creep set because we got the accidental bit with Hootie. So they kind of tried to flesh it out to try and curve those Hootie players down a little because as many players that play meta and in events know, Hootie is everywhere, and if they get their board going, you lose before you can even do anything. So I understand why the fact of AGO and Neptune Venus is so strong as well because it was meant to do this. But I also understand the other points of where this really carries out. Dan and Cannon was an accidental kind of put together where Dan and Cannon was meant to be used for things like the security options where you activate, put it in, and play a Digimon. The accidental bit with In Between Theater, well, not much we can really do about that. It's basically just a generic searcher that you play for free if your opponent has 3 or more memory. But
Yeah.
how do you feel on this there, Zan?
So this is kind of why I liked Benjamin Wiseman's comment, where he basically states that BT24 is definitely not a bad set. People just liked BT22 and BT23 because they have fondness for the game, and it had a lot of appeal outside of the obvious competitive play, because those two sets were, well, mostly BT23 was definitely a hardcore power creep set. BT22 did give us some good stuff, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed that format for the most part, even though it was a very short-lived format. But they also state that the appeal of EX9 and EX10 also just had like more fanfare because it was a lot of old school designs that people loved. Even though the majority of it didn't exactly do anything competitively, Green Hill Mario still personally liked them. Which, I mean, hey, people like all different kinds of things. I'm not going to blame anyone for liking different things than me or you or whoever.
Nah, I wouldn't either, honestly. I'm still a partial fan of the EX6 for obvious reasons involving two specific angels.
Yeah, but the idea, like the first bit where BT24 definitely is not a bad set, I think I was too quick to judge BT24. And after doing a lot of testing, feel free to go check my live streams because I was playing a lot of different Time Stranger decks and really understanding how Time Strangers is supposed to function. I can very confidently say I hate everything about them. Um, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I just don't like the flavor of the cards. Like the flavor of the cards are fine. I really think that BT24 definitely was more what Green Hill Mario was saying, accidental power creep. Um
He was saying 23 was the accidental.
no, BT23 was 100% on purpose. BT24 was 100% an accident.
Huh.
At least like that was my interpretation of their comment, and just like
Nah, I took it the
how
other
the
way, but
meta felt.
understandable.
Yeah.
Mm.
So definitely the design of Time Strangers is a really awkward design because the counterplay to them is giving them a lot of memory, but we're in a stage of the game where giving a lot of memory is also just as bad as a death sentence. So it's just like, oh, make sure to give them 5 memory every single turn. Okay, cool. Their tamers will still gain them memory, or at least Homeros will still gain them extra memory. So that 5 memory can turn to 6 to 7, and then they could still make every single play that they were going to do. They just don't get the Homeros effect. They get everything else, just not the Homeros. I mean, I guess technically if they move out and use the promos, they don't get the free evolution. So they're missing out on like very, very minute things. Um, I think what the tamers, um, the two tamers that everyone's using, the Asuna, right? The Haruko and the
It's Asuna
Asunas.
and Hiroka. They
Yeah,
don't get to activate if you're past or if you're at 4 or higher.
yeah.
So,
So giving them 5 memory will definitely turn those tamers off from them just amassing a board for pretty much free. I think like there's a lot of like incredibly poorly thought out ideas when it came to how Time Strangers is actually playing out. Um, but yeah, Time Strangers is definitely way stronger than I thought. I don't know competitively, like in the face of like Hoodie and Jessmon and Royal Knights and everything else, how well it's going to do because there's so many Time Stranger variants that it's kind of just hard to track what Time Stranger variant you're playing because the majority of them are running, for the most part, almost the same low end, which is just focusing on Sylphimon because, you know, having free DNAs is really good because Haruko and Asuna both play out Digimon that are level 4 for free, while also making your deck more consistent. So, like, it just feels kind of absolutely insane. Um,
yeah, I agree on this. The Sylphimon is actually one of the better cards of that set. The fact that I actually, in my personal testing with this, constantly use Sylphimon with AGO and the Garu to be purposely swing in. If it hits something big, it spits out the AGO, triggering Inori, letting me go into the rush AGO and basically keep on swinging. So the fact of it letting you do this is one of the best cards of the set for that one.
yeah, no, like it's kind of crazy where it's just like most Time Stranger decks are running those two tamers Dan and Kana, because obviously playing your options, which is mostly going to be your in between theater for free, maybe one of the thrones or sanctuaries, maybe depending on if you're even running those. I actually found those cards to be really lackluster. So, but like the specific decks that they're working with, it's not bad to have like maybe one or two of them in there. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so the fact that you have basically this pseudo homogenized low end between just playing Jet Sylphimon, unless you're Aegeomon specifically, and then just running whatever top end you want between all of the Olympus 12s is kind of just nutty, because all of the Olympus 12s like are actually incredibly strong. Maruki OTK's people, then
Minerva is just a Lord Nightmon on steroids with the fact that she digivolves a Digimon per Digimon you control, and she plays out Homeros without even trying. So you can literally go Agio, play out something, evolve all the way up into Minerva, spit out another one like Homeros, and pretty much you have two Homeros ready to go to constantly swarm the board on that one. There's also the Neptune, which would you activate with homos initially, you can basically get rid of a bottom end, and then the homos end a turn will just wipe out the rest of the field. We've already spoken last week on the Venus with her locking everything down,
yeah,
and
Venus
then
locking is kind of annoying. Even the new Venus, like locking things down, is kind of annoying.
yeah, I reread that card. That thing is nutty. The fact it source strips and then makes two unable to suspend or activate when Digi is nuts. But the fact that its protection is not once per turn is even worse.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cards that are playing Digimon by effects, so there's a high chance that there's going to be something on the field for Venus to potentially remove. On top of the fact that you have the protection from Neptunemon, which is also pretty annoying because he protects himself basically twice as well. Um,
Mhm.
so like, there's just a lot of really powerful interactions, and like the only disgusting thing to me personally is how inaccessible Time Strangers has become. And what I mean by that is all of the good cards are, I know this is going to shock people, high rarity cards. So, building a Time Stranger deck is actually going to be more expensive than your average Digimon deck.
Not going to deny this. Among those is also the staples of the promos Patamon, Gomamon, and Demimera that or Demi Devi that we've talked about that are now out of circulation due to us getting the new card packs coming in for Agio.
Right. And it just makes Time Strangers unfortunately something like I've been testing them obviously online for free using the simulator Digimon Card Game Online DCGO for short. Um but if I actually can't build the deck in paper. It's going to cost me too much. And this is coming from a guy who usually who I have actually been decreasing the amount of Digimon that I have been purchasing by quite a lot, just because the game um is not
It's
it
not exactly fun
fluctuates.
much anymore.
It's still fun. I'm still enjoying my time. It's just the speed barriers that we're breaking really kind of put a lot of stress on the game, and depending on how well a set does, it can make a set like jump in price to be something like I was paying, I think, for a master set of all the supers and secrets for the past couple of sets I was paying an average of like $200 to $300, but like
Eesh.
for this set specifically, it's probably closer to $300 to $400. So it's just like, and this is just for a master set. This is not even buying booster boxes.
I'm not
Um,
going to deny that. Homeros is still hovering at near $40 a copy just for the plain art.
yeah,
And then Jupiter had a more recent buyout that brought it up to the same pricing.
and
So
then
master sets are
Yeah, and then you had a jump in price in Neptune and in Venus as well. The only one that hasn't really jumped is like I think Merva and Maruki, but like
No,
once
Merva
people
jumped.
oh Merva jumped too. Yeah,
Yeah,
Maruki's the only
Maruki's the
one.
only one.
And like Maruki's the one I care about the most because he's just an absolutely degenerate card at allowing OTKs to be even like he allows like OTKs in Time Strangers to exist. And I find that to be one appealing because I'm a filthy degenerate OTK player. I'm not going to lie and sugarcoat that. I've came to terms with it and I understand mentally why I like OTK decks. Um it's not a good reason by any stretch of the word. Um
No, I would never say it's a good reason at all, man.
Well, no. So, like, to justify my liking of OTKs, because I don't think I've actually like publicly said it outside of like my friend circle. I like OTKs because it takes the burden of losing off of me. So, hear me out. Hear me out. What I mean by that is I can't complain if I lose using an OTK deck because I'm playing an OTK deck. So, like, I win or lose based on do I see my combo or not 9 out of 10 times. The other 1 out of 10 times is did my opponent just hardcore luck sack me?
Yeah, I'm not gonna deny that.
So,
I mean,
like, it's so easy to get frustrated and figure out where things went wrong, and get hung up over like finer details of like how the game went. And while that's fun to learn from those types of experiences, during my like competitive time of Digimon, I found that to be incredibly stressful. And it's just easier, not necessarily to turn your brain off, because you still have to know how to OTK and what you're going to do to recover if you can't OTK and figure out your alternative play lines. So, like, there's still thought that goes into it, but it's easier to justify a loss when you could just say, hey, my deck didn't find the OTK fast enough. I guess I just lost. Like, it's so much easier of a mental excuse, which is like partially why I like playing OTK decks because it is a good mental excuse.
mhm.
But yeah, no, I Marukimon was like the big card out of the Time Stranger stuff that really attracted me the most. Just because he enables OTKs. So like everything about Time Strangers, I initially thought wasn't as good as it was, and then putting it to practice, it's actually way better than I initially thought. Like significantly better. It's kind of like what everyone saw with Hoodie, where it's just like, oh, this doesn't seem that good, and then we start playing with it, and it's just like, oh no, this is probably the most broken thing we've ever seen in a long time.
Oh
Actually,
yeah,
not
no
that long of a
doubt.
time.
No
Uh,
doubt on that one there, man. Literally just raise up a rookie, evolve in the AGO. After you play out something with Hiroka or Asuna, swing with AGO, you got barrier going. DNA in the Sylvie sees itself. It's like, cool, 2 more checks. You have 3 memory, digivolve into
Maruki
freaking Maruki.
unsuspends.
Maruki unsuspends, swings again, digivolve into Omni for game. Just like nuts.
The deck doesn't even use Omni because half the time it will just sometimes be able to play out an extra body, or if off of the AGO you played a Homeros, then you could use the Homeros effect to be able to use Maruki's when digivolving slash on play to
So
unsuspend and
punching
swing
through
again.
Digimon doesn't let you do that.
What?
It doesn't let you get game if you swing through a Digimon like that.
You could.
Because Marukimon says you have to swing into a Digimon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
That's why I
mean,
was mentioning the Omni.
oh, I mean, yeah, there's Omni, or there's like if you just have an extra body, like one extra body, like that could do it as well.
Which 90% of the time, let's face it, you will, especially with the Cyclone Mon that's basically Rush Ray TS traded.
Yeah, but even then, like Dan and Kana on top of Homeros plus Maruki, even if you can't attack into the Digimon for the game, Dan and Kana will basically say, hey, that's fine. You could just make a normal attack.
Hmm.
Like Dan and Kana actually is kind of broken. Homeros is obviously broken. I'm not going to put any of the blame on the Digimon as of right now. It's mostly just those two cards that I feel like are some of the most broken stuff. Um, okay, maybe Agio might be. No, I don't even think Agio's that broken. He's just got
He
high
really
usability.
isn't, because the fact of he labels things like, cool, if you have this tamer, you can't use it. If you have this tamer, you can't use it. The one that is the menace out of them is Minerva. Because Minerva quite literally says, if you control a TS tamer or Digi, play it
No,
for
it's
7
it's
and then do
Iliad.
it.
She's specifically Iliad. I made that misplay on stream, where I thought I had it because I had a TS tamer. No, it's specifically Iliad.
Well, still, you everything you got in the deck is Iliad outside of a few cards, but it still will run exactly like that because she is the degenerate.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, it feels like no matter what set comes out, like there's always going to be something incredibly broken about it. And like this goes into why I think Bandai needs to ban and restrict more cards more often, because learning from other card games, the more cards you print, the less quality control there actually is, because they now have to move on from set to set to set really, really quickly. So, more broken things are going to be coming out as a result, the more sets a game tends to make. The big one
Mhm.
that I always like to refer to is Magic the Gathering, because they literally just learned that issue, and as a result, they changed their once a year ban and restriction update for standard to 6 times a year. Go
Yeah, and
figure.
I love that about Magic with that. Wizards, this was I played pre them doing this back in Time Stranger, and the once a year was annoying every time. But I was a filthy sliver player back then.
Yeah, I mean, before, so they had to refigure out how to do standard because they absolutely destroyed their standard format and made it borderline non-existent. So when they reintroduced the concept of standard and they decided to have all of the universes beyond stuff be a part of standard, they had 7 sets come out that year, and this
Mhm.
coming year they also are going to have 7 sets come out for standard play because everything is a standard set now.
Yeah,
So,
this is a model that Bondi should follow into the future with all its card games like Digimon, Gundam, One Piece, especially.
yeah, so shocking enough, having more ban and restriction updates to proactively make your game better makes your game better. Yu-Gi-Oh! I
Mhm.
know just had a ban and restriction list, and they had one.
I love that list.
Yeah, and
Yummy can go flip her off.
they literally just had one like 2, 3, like I wasn't it literally like 2 months ago. It felt like it was just
Give
two
or
months ago.
take.
Yeah, because it was
Give or take,
the
yeah.
big YCS incident that caused them to react and respond.
Yeah, that was the emergency ban list. Something Bondi doesn't do ever, really.
They very rarely do it. Like there's very special cases where they need to. But again, not to harp on the fact that like as a person who has professional experience designing card games, calling out that this is what a as a business they should consider doing, um not to toot my own horn on that saying that I'm right, but like it's very clear that something is not 100% kosher going on at Bandai HQ when it comes to designing cards, and the easiest thing that I could point to is the fact that they are doing too much. So I guess this is a
Mhm.
good segue into the news segment because
Yes, because we need to start getting on with the news that just dropped this last week.
yeah, we could always talk about more BT24 stuff after we actually talk about the news. So Bandai decided to they had a little video um, showing us the brand new mechanic of dual cards. But before we get into talking about dual cards and our thoughts and opinions, I am going to say I have a video talking about dual cards, like a separate video on my YouTube channel. That was more like a history and evolution of option cards themselves, to the point where I feel like dual cards were fine. And that's kind of like my overall opinion, is I don't think that these are currently game breaking. Currently is the keyword.
No, no, they are not game breaking really at all. They have requirements to use the options. They can be used as Digimon, which can help out quite a bit. But these cards are actually fair and balanced. My only complaint with them is I wish they worked like instants from Magic, you know? Give us a little
Um,
more.
I guess. We'll get into that when we talk about that, but first, I want to bring up the roadmap. Because we have the full product roadmap for the entire year. And by entire year, I mean the entire rest of the year plus January, February, March of next year. So we already know our January, February, March for this year, being obviously we just got BT24. In less than a month, we're going to be getting EX11, which is the Liberator set. And then in March, we're going to be getting the 8001 reprint set with some new cards. It's basically Resurgence Booster 2.0, just relabeled
Yeah,
differently.
and it depending on the pull rates, it may be a nice or a flop on that one.
They are playing with fire, and they cannot fuck this up again, because if they do, that's going to cause almost irreparable damage to the game. And I'm not being
Mm.
hyperbole about that, because I have done extensive research and well documented stuff on how bad Resurgence Booster was for the game overall, and it was very bad, very 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 bad. Um,
Yeah, not denying that.
Granted,
It
there
gave us
were
a chance for the Ghost Game stuff, but
yeah. So, um, this year, we already know the first 3 months. We're getting one set each month. Then in April, we get a 1 month break, followed by BT25, which is going to come out with starter decks 22 and 23. So this is going to be the
23, 24 Zan.
or yeah, 23, 24. My bad. Um, Good catch. I love how they have at the very bottom. This plan is subject to change. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
um, so you have starter deck 23 and 24 supporting BT25, and this is going to be the introduction of the new dual card mechanic. Then in June, we get a 1 month break, and then in July, we get EX12, which is the Shambhala set.
I cannot wait for this set, honestly.
Uh, BT25, I guess we should have said it's going to be Time Strangers Part 2 on top of supporting the starter decks. And I think there's just like maybe some extra like random stuff in there, because there always is. I think maybe BT25 is
So,
going to
from what
have.
I understood with 25, it is primarily focusing on the duel, but it's doing like the Bandai's previous one with other series, to where they just give us a little for the Time Stranger. We may get AGO just blue from that, and maybe another one of the Olympus 12, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, mathematically, it feels like they're breaking Time Strangers up into 3 sets because of how many Olympus 12s that we got in this set. So I think
Mm.
like definitely Titamon should 100% come out in BT25. So that way we're not strangleheld into using what BT6 Titamon or the
No, it's
promo.
promo.
Well, no,
It's
they
promo that's holding everyone hostage right this second.
yeah. So again, this is why I think anything that says Time Stranger related is like borderline toxic and inaccessible, because of the promo issues on top of the cards being unanimous in so many different Time Stranger decks that are it's just jacking the prices up. But anyway,
Moving on.
yeah. So BT25 comes out in May. We have the 1 month break in June, followed by another set in July, which is EX12. Then again, another set back to back. August, we get BT26, We have zero data or information on what that's going to be. We only know technically up to EX12. Then
Hmm.
September we get a month break, followed by October we get EX13. November we get a break, and December we get BT27 with starter decks 25 and 26, which means
With the rumor on those ones being advanced decks for Justimon and Gallant. We got to see more information on that, though.
I actually think that starter deck 27 is going to be the advanced deck because it's just kind of floating there as a single.
Hmm.
Um,
It could. It could. It needs to be Justy. That's all I gotta say. Justy has gone without too much, without any love. You know.
Gallantmon getting an advanced deck is very unlikely and something that would be incredibly dangerous. Um,
That's why I said there's just rumors.
yeah. But going into 2027, literally after December, we get a starter deck, two starter decks, and a set. We get EX4 or EX14, followed by
Then they break off
February.
for Nats,
Yeah,
and
followed
then it
by
goes back.
February break, and March we get BT28 with starter deck 27.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we just cut off the January, February, March for 2027, we could count that we have 8 sets coming out this year. 8. And this is not including any Bandai Premium stuff. So there's obviously going to be an LM set that is currently up for pre-order, and then I think pre-order ends in early February.
It
Um,
ends on the 9th. I gotta order mine tomorrow.
yeah, so that's just one LM set. There's probably going to be another LM set, and then like some other specialty products or whatever. So yeah, there's still more unlisted products to purchase that are also going to have exclusive cards on top of all of the promos that they're going to be doing that year. Like it's just a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
in a single year. We have no larger than a 1 month break. So all of these metas are going to be incredibly tight and strict. So I just want to put that into perspective on how much Bandai is actually like shitting out Digimon sets. And I don't want to use the word shitting out, but like it just feels like they're nonstop bombarding us. And I don't exactly have a good logical explanation as far as why.
I think they're
Um
trying to save the sets, honestly, or to save the game, because the game has been in a decline for quite a while.
um I'm not gonna say it hasn't. Um, 2025 was definitely a very rough year for Digimon. Even though like from the onset there was a lot of hype going into it because we got the new anime, we got more Liberator stuff. Like there was a lot of we got the Time Stranger video game. Like the Digimon IP in 2025 was like absolutely booming, and yeah, now in 2026 as Liberators is coming to an end, we don't know if we're going to get Elysian or not this year or when that's going to come out. Still have zero news about it. It feels like it's going to come out this year because that's going to be basically post Liberators, so it's like their excuse for continuing it without continuing it.
Yep.
um but yeah, so uh, outside of Elysian and the continuation of the anime and the Time Strangers DLC, the IP is going to start being really quiet. So maybe it is to try to like bolster IP activity. I don't know.
Okay, so moving on then more into the next chart, we were gonna to where we talk about everything else. Not really a chart, but moving on, the next set that's going to be coming out after everything with that going to be the Dual Revolution. What are your general thoughts on this one, Zan?
Well, we don't really have a whole lot of information on it other than the fact that it is going to support the Beat Break starter deck and it's going to support the Data Squad starter deck. And then there's obviously going to be more Time Stranger support in it. I could just pull up
We
the ad
have
listing.
information that there's also Imperial in there.
Yeah, I don't exactly know why Imperial is in there. It feels very random. Like so personally, I know it's probably a marketing thing. I would have said, hey, the last Atmon deck is also in there. It's sad that it's not confirmed to be in there. I kind of hope it is because I would like to see Offmon.
It would be nice to see the last of the apps and maybe the big app that's supposed to be like the level 7 for them.
I don't think they have a big app level 7. I think they're all just god
There
grade level 6s.
there's a combination of all 6 gods from what I looked at.
Okay. Um But anyway, yeah, it would be nice to finish apps, put a close and a bow on it, so that way they could start actually releasing app support. They started to with a couple of promos, and that's why Gaiamon is like way above every other app deck in terms of like what apps are doing.
Yeah.
So supporting some of those, making those decks better definitely would be nice. Not saying that because I invested into almost every single one of them outside of Deusmon, but that's because Deusmon is a stupid secret rare, and I didn't feel like paying big bucks for a deck that was just worse than Gaiamon.
Yep.
But anyway, BT25 is definitely going to be interesting because I don't know how widespread they want the dual mechanic to be. And I think like that's the big thing is the dual mechanic. So I'm just going to bring up the image of the new Shine Greymon because we finally know what the dual mechanic is and we could talk a little bit, I guess, more in depth about it. Um, burp, 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 burp. Oh, I should probably. There we go. Resize you a little bit. All right. So, uh, the dual mechanic. What are your initial thoughts and opinions on it? Well, before we actually talk about what this is.
Okay. So, initial opinion. The fact that it's an option Digimon is nice, but there are also things that the rest of Team Blank, when I've talked with them on this, that they really don't like on it.
Really,
So
I'm surprised. Like a lot of people that I've been hearing seem to be overall thinking that this is actually pretty okay.
I will not deny that that it's good for what it is and what it does. But like I said, there are some people that don't agree with it. The fact that it's an option card kind of caught people off guard, but then the arts digivolve further push that information into their skull on that, especially with the fact that if you use since we got Shine Greymon revealed, if you use the Geogray sword, you're basically giving something -6 and deleting a 7. Then by using your arts digivolve, you basically can give something else a -9, while dropping a mark is to suspend, gain a memory, and deal additional 3. So almost instantly, a lot of people I've talked with said this is not a healthy card to show right off the bat.
See, because the funny thing is, I think that's perfectly okay. Because to, I guess, further elaborate what this card is, essentially, yes, it is a Digimon and an option. So if a card is specifically searching for a Digimon or an option, this card can count as either requirement. This card also is 2 colors, obviously. On the top half, you have the Digimon portion, which counts as a Digimon. So every Digimon type of effect, it's just a normal Digimon that you know and love. But on the bottom portion of the card, it is an option. So you have the opportunity to use it as either an option or a Digimon. So that's kind of cool, increasing flexibility of how we could potentially use these cards. The option does have a use cost and specific requirements that you can use it to potentially make it easier to use. Um, but the idea is you use the option, And then because it doesn't have a security effect, it doesn't just go away. It allows you to use Art's Digivolve, which I think is just a weird word, or weird like keyword. It essentially allows you to Digivolve instead of the option just going into the trash like normal options. So you're basically paying a little bit more to use it as an option and then get its when digivolving effect and all that other fun stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so in this one singular example, as we've seen with the ace stuff, this is probably going to be one of the weaker things coming out of this mechanic. So I guess like I will have to preface this does look like a pretty decent card on the onset. And if this is going to be one of the weaker examples of the mechanic, I don't exactly know where the ceiling is going to be for what this mechanic is going to do. We don't know if any of the Digimon are going to be coming with other non-removal type of abilities. There's still a lot
Next
of
thing you know, there's a
unknowns.
version for Massimon.
Yeah, we don't even know if it's going to be strictly on just level 6 Digimon. Because as we saw with aces, they had level 5 aces, and then they had level 6 aces. That we didn't have any level 4 aces. But the templating was technically there for it. They just never bothered to take that opportunity, which is probably fine because I don't think level 4 aces would have seen any play at all. Um, I mean, they might have, depending on the deck, but I digress. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I just think, like, from my video that I made, my initial opinion is this felt like the natural evolution for removal options because if you look at Digimon deck design, we had zero space and zero desire to use removal options. Absolutely zero. They were all borderline unplayable. And the only time it was actually good was when we could play them for free.
Yeah.
That's the only, or they came with such huge upside for using them that we didn't exactly care about their cost. Because we've seen
Mm-hmm.
that with like Biting Crush, where it's just like, oh yeah, 8 is really
Or Hades
high.
Force.
Yeah. Or Hades Force just wiping all of the tamers from the opponent's field and then getting the attack. Like there's a lot of like really powerful options that were ran, but as deck space got tighter and tighter because Bandai decided to print more game defining staples to accelerate the game even further, we just didn't have room for options. Plus, if all of your Digimon remove stuff anyway, for the most part, why do we need to waste an option slot in our deck for a removal card when our Digimon does that already? Like, it's just
Mm-hmm.
redundancy on top of deck space constraints. So it just, to me, made sense that they would slap removal options on Digimon. Do I think this is a little on the strong side? Probably, because paying 5 to basically delete something that's effectively 13k is actually really, really powerful. And then on top of that, as you already stated, there's more potential combo play with the when digivolving to minus 9k. So now you're able to remove something that is 22k. And then any other additional abilities or whatnot based on tamers coming into play or what the tamer is doing could hit even higher numbers. Um, is a little on the crazy side. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
I just feel really bad for Gallantmon players on this. Just the fact of hitting already in the 20s when they are barely up there. It's just like,
I
rest in
mean,
peace, Gallant.
apps hit in the 20s pretty easily. Like usually two level 5 linked to your level 6 will most likely be 20 to 21k. But I mean, DP, it's not even really DP inflation, but like DP numbers aside, we don't know what the rest of this mechanic is going to look like. And who's to say it's even going to specifically stay on just Digimon? They could technically
Yeah.
do Tamers and options. They could do Digimon and Tamers, even though that one seems incredibly unlikely. Um,
Yeah, it generally seems like it could be a good view if done right.
yeah, that's why if you haven't noticed, this card doesn't actually have a play cost. And the idea behind that is they don't want you to try to interact with some of the previous stuff. So like it's a future proofing type thing. So that way you
Mhm.
can't point to something like Royal Knights, where it's just like, let's just say they made a Gallantmon that's a dual card. Well, Gallantmon's also a Royal Knight, so therefore it could be abused by King Drazel. Well, now that
Yeah.
he doesn't have a play cost, he can't be abused by King Drazel. So it's kind of just it is very smart future proofing at the one small caveat that black removal just got a tiny bit worse. That's
Yeah.
basically the only drawback is because this doesn't have a play cost, black removal doesn't actually work. But black removal at this point is just delegated to Digivolve, so it's not like it's that big of a deal.
Especially with the Digi Police that came out in the last set of if this thing decided to swing while Oryu is on the field, it's not gonna have a good time.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see what they're actually going to do with this mechanic going forward because again, they literally only just showed this one card and just this one card alone already has a lot of talk about it. Um
Hmm.
I know the Yu-Gi-Oh players were like, "Oh, is this basically just pendulums?" No. Pendulums was just such a god awful mistake for the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh
Hey,
that this is
so my deck is a pendulum, so I have a problem with that right there.
pendulums is what made me quit Yu-Gi-Oh because they had the master rule change that basically took my deck and said you can no longer play the deck that you have been playing for a while. Like the way
Hmm.
your deck functions is no longer how it functions. And then they had links to try to fix that issue, and then they had to do another master rule because of that fuck up. So yeah, you like pendulums literally started like this big decline in Yu-Gi-Oh and made like huge egregious design mistakes. But I mean,
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh as a game is a huge egregious design mistake because it wasn't even supposed to be a game. But again, I digress. Um, and I don't think that this mechanic, as of right now, is a net negative. I do think, depending on how it's done poorly, like if we have more Digimon that can play options out for free, then that brings these into question on how are these going to end up being broken, and then what other kind of effects these are getting paired up with. Because let's just say, as a hypothetical, you have the search half of a memory boost attached to, let's just say, a rookie or a level 4 Digimon. I think level 4
Yeah.
Digimon's probably more appropriate, considering the Cubimon from the Sakuyamon Advanced deck is a level 4 searcher, which we haven't really seen a whole lot of. So, like, let's just say, like, okay, what does that actually mean for the game? Well, it just means the game gets more consistent. And as the game gets more consistent, technically it means the game is also going to get faster and faster because now you're able to find your pieces to perform your combo better. And then
Yeah.
again, with the when moving timing, because you could actually digivolve these in your raising area, uh, who knows what kind of kooky combo of effects that they could have to make a card like have near in I'm gonna be hyperbole and say near infinite value, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pay 3, search, put this into my raising area, move it out, do something else, and it's just cascading effects off of cascading effects. And I feel like that's already a huge problem with the card game right now is we don't really have a whole lot of defensive or check type mechanics to really try to rein in the game. It's just, do you have a good defensive plan? If yes, hope the opponent doesn't have a good offensive plan. If no, you better have a good offensive plan.
Point to Mastimon on that one right there.
Yeah, I mean, the game's kind of been that way since like probably about BT. Thinking about
It was
it,
all the way back at 6.
no, I mean, yes and no. I think like the speed escalation combo with the pressure of trying to kill the opponent in a single turn versus solid defense, I think that really started to emerge in BT16. I think like the introduction of the ungodly protection of Tyrant Kabuterimon and Magnamon X, I think like the combo pair really showed what defense could mean with ungodly protection. And then we just have to find ways around it, which we did because we learned, oh, sticky DP reduction means that when it goes to the opponent's turn, all of their effects wear off, and then their Digimon just pops. Um, yeah, we kind of had to figure out how to way to get past it. Otherwise, annoying walls were just going to be annoying walls. But yeah, so it was really in BT16 when they started to hone in. This Digimon isn't going to win the game in a single turn, but you probably are not likely to remove him.
No, not likely. Well, actually, with the fact of him playing a tamer every turn, you probably want to remove him.
I mean, yes, obviously. Obviously you do want to remove the Shine Greymon the second he hits the field. I don't know how good this is going to be inside of Shine Greymon himself. It does seem like it's a very competent card. But obviously we still have this whole starter deck that he's supposed to be played with is going to emerge. So that'll be interesting to see how the starter deck actually develops, because there's going to be a dual tamer between Marcus and Thomas. So we have no idea what that's going to do. And obviously there's going to be support inside of BT25. So
there's also potential on a dual card for Mirage Galgamon for those Galgamon players.
Yeah, give me my boy back, please, Bandai. He at this point did nothing wrong.
He deserved what he got.
No, he didn't. Do you see what we're doing inside of the game? I would almost argue that he is a necessary evil.
At this point, yes. At this point, he is a necessary evil.
Yeah. So that's kind of the overarching news portion, unless like there's some other news. Because outside of EX,
only other news would be the Shambhala, with them revealing a mega version for Goku.
Yeah, but we already knew that was gonna happen. Like that wasn't like crazy. And then I guess like the only other bit of news is EX11 is gonna have both ghosts and SPs. So they're trying to really make EX11 like a highly desirable set in terms of like a collector set, because you have the chance of both ghost rares for their low level Digimon and SPs for the high level Digimon all inside of that set. And
not to mention the promos if you're playing one of the novel decks.
Yeah, and then the promo box toppers too. God. Like they're trying.
I hate Bandai for this.
Okay, so the only promos that are really going to be good is probably Invisimons and Puppets. I think those are the two best ones.
I think the Bees actually has a contender on that one.
So the B only works with winner, and there's only one good winner, which is going to be coming out inside of EX11.
I'm pretty sure she works with all the other Bees.
Faye is not a winner, and the option requires winner specifically. So unless Faye somehow decides to change her name to winner,
about?
The emblem.
Oh yeah, wasn't referring to that. I was more referring to Queen.
Oh
yeah.
No, you still just no. You don't play Queen. You just have an easier time with the Tiger Vesp Ace, and you just OTK, like.
But no, the Honeycomb Commander for that one, yeah, you need winners, of which only the best one comes out in that. So.
Yeah, like I think out of all of them,
Puppets definitely.
Yeah, Puppets because they have already, like
Dinos.
I don't know how useful Dinos is going to be. I think it's going to be good, but I don't know how useful it's going to be, because these emblems operate differently than the other emblems, because the big difference is these emblems trigger when a specific tamer is played. So,
Yeah, which actually, now that I think about it, heavy metal would be better than all of them.
no.
Do I have to point out the number of ways they spit out Yuki?
Do I have to point out the number of ways that deck is unplayable?
How is that unplayable?
The deck asks you to basically not have a hand. How are you going to play cards if you don't have a hand? And yes, I do
Infernity.
understand. I do understand they have effects that are happening in their trash, and they have decent trash recursion, but not having the proper responses and be able to actually play your cards is a very big problem.
I agree to disagree on this.
Uh, you'll show me competitive results. We'll see. We'll see at Worlds if heavy metal does anything.
I
How
mean,
about that?
it has the new one literally has an on play win digi end of attack, so it may do something.
Yeah, but EX11 is just hardcore power creeping all of the Liberator decks to pretty much be meta competitive for the majority of them, which basically means in this day and age they have either obnoxious protection or they OTK people.
Yeah, in the form of heavy metal is meant to OTK, Queen is going to OTK, Dino is going to OTK, and the other three are just meant for control.
Can Dino OTK?
Yes.
How does
I
Dino
have a buddy
OTK?
down in this area, man, who can OTK you with Dino already. Because he does
I
5 checks in a single one and then evolve into Omni for game.
How are you doing 5 checks? Because you do one master underneath. He has security attack plus native, so that's already 3 checks. Just from the when attack, and then usually most of the time you're just gonna end up passing turn. Like he's supposed to be that annoying
Greymon,
wall. What?
Greymon, the original Greymon is an additional check.
Are you really
Then
running like with the new
he
support? Are
was
you
running
really?
it.
No, I'm
He
saying
was running it, man.
with the new support, are you really gonna waste deck space for the Greymon?
I mean, they work with Dino, so probably, maybe, I don't know. But there was also the Tai Kamiya they were running for that 5 check.
The tie I can concede on the tie. Minus the fact that if they pop your Digimon, then Tie's effect no longer works, but you still have a Dinomon, which is like where I think like the annoying protection slash recursion kind of comes from, where it's just like even though he's not killing you, he's still going to be a very hard, difficult Digimon to deal with.
Yeah.
Although I think like maybe actually Dino accidentally got worse because Venus exists from Time Strangers.
I'm not. Well, if they have a way to proc their on play, they can get around it. But that also is assuming they didn't immediately go from Venus into Balder Arms to say no win digi, no on play.
I don't know. There's a lot that Time Strangers can do.
That's a freaking stretch. I'm already gonna say that.
It is and it isn't. I'll say that it is and it isn't. Because that deck could run Maruki and he is part green.
Yeah, and then you got the fact that she's yellow, and it's just like, oh, look at what's gonna happen. I activate Salamon ESS because that is a rookie with end of turn DNA. Boop.
Yeah, and then if the Volderarm dies, then you partition out 2 level 6 Digimon that then get their on plays again.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but anywho, yeah, I don't know how good some of the other Time Stranger decks are gonna be. Like obviously the good ones are just getting better. So like Rocks and Minerals and what's its face?
I think we may have probably given someone an idea on that.
Maybe. But Rocks and Minerals and Medusa are very clearly, as of right now, the strongest 2 Liberator decks. And we still have yet to see, as of the recording of this video, we'll probably know it in like a week or two when they finally get to that fight between Shoto and Unchained. Because that's literally all we're waiting for is that fight for them to reveal the last secret of EX11. which is going to be Shoto's level 7, which I still think is just going to end up turning his deck into another OTK deck because he has to defeat Ex Machinamon, and the only best way to defeat Ex Machinamon is to attack into it multiple times at insanely high DP numbers.
Yeah, and we've talked about that last week, which
Yeah.
I have a feeling we'll see that 7 on this day after tomorrow when they release the chapter.
Either that or next week when
He's gonna have
yeah.
a strict remove all source ability.
Maybe. We'll see when he comes out, but like in terms of the Liberator decks that I think are going to be doing something, I think that obviously the two that are like the best two are obviously the best two. I think Dino actually did get a lot of buffs. He seems pretty
He
competent.
definitely got quite a bit of buffs to it.
Yeah, he seems competent, which is good enough in this day and age, because he's still just annoying because of Fortitude and his removal and defensive plan. I think actually like Invisimon looks really good. He just seems like a lot of fun. And because the new Invisimon, doesn't the new Invisimon have like security attack plus on it also?
Give me a second. Looking in the news. Here.
Like the only
Nope,
thing,
that's
like Invisimon just feels like he's gonna like chip you once, flip all of your security face up so he knows exactly what your security is, and then have like Invisimon just spam the field because you could potentially have multiple Invisimons in
so he flipped.
security.
So his ability is flip the top card, then return a lowest, and then he gets a security check.
Yeah, like I just think the deck it'll find a way to just dumpster damage. It just seems like it's getting primed to do that. And then puppets might just get better just because they technically have 2 waves of support inside of one set. So they just have like double the number of tools compared to everyone else.
I don't see them wasting deck space to play mid-eye though.
I mean, they could still just Kaguya. Like, I don't necessarily think the deck shifts off Kaguya. I think they just adapt the good new tools into the deck, and it just gets better as a result.
The deck I feel bad for is Scotty though. That thing is just gotten shafted throughout everything on this.
Yeah, Scotty and Heavy Metal are very easily 2 of the worst Liberator decks. Very easily. I think Fishes, because Fishes already can. Yeah, I think Fishes, because Fishes already can OTK. Depending on how defense looks in the game, Fishes definitely looks like it's better.
Bees got more punch through guarantee with the fact of winner. And the
Yeah.
queen bee is acting as removal.
Yeah, like there's a lot of really really powerful stuff coming out of EX11. Cuz like going back to what we were talking about with BT24, it just feels like in every single set at this point something is like just bound to break in half or be highly abusable in ways that maybe might be more oppressive than what we initially thought. Because it is one thing to just like see and read a card, but it is another to see it in action in combination with some of the other cards. Again, like the in action part is the most important part because you can have a good concept, but concepts need to be put in action in order to actually be more than a concept. If
Then I think we have a bigger problem. I just reread the queen bee.
what?
So she says place a royal base trait card as from hand or trash as top card as security.
Yeah. So I guess
Eraser is a traded card.
I mean, hey, bees
Set
need
that at
it.
the top and then just straight up delete.
Yeah, I mean bees need it. But I guess like we could kind of just start wrapping things up with where now that we've had more experience with BT24, we have almost all of EX11 spoiled. We kind of know a little bit about where the current state of the game is. So we do have more Japanese data to look at. Um, what's currently on
It
screen is where the current updated Japanese meta is, where you have Iliad as number one, which is basically just a Time Stranger deck. You have Hoodie at two. I know technically on screen it says Foodie, but Google Translate sometimes loves to mess up. Then you have Sakuyamon at three. Dragon Man is actually Medusa. That's number four. Titans is five. Royal Base is six. Diaboromon is seven. Aegiomon is eight. Technically, Millennium is tied. Well, I mean, a couple of these are tied, but Millennium would be nine. And then you had Blue Time Stranger, which is more focused on like some of the blue top end stuff. Um, at 10. You have Omnimon at like 11 and Jesmon at 12. Rocks and Minerals at 13. Mastimon at 14. Zephiga at 15. And then Royal Knights at 16.
Yeah, so this meta is starting to look like TS has a chance to curb Hootie, if
Uh,
just a little bit.
yeah, I still don't know. I have like in all of my practice with Time Strangers, I have yet to face a Hoodiemon specifically, so I don't have good data on what actually is going to transpire between Hoodie versus like um Time Strangers. But I mean, I still think like Hoodie could probably just dumpster damage and just kill the opponent, and then I think like maybe their option suite changes a little bit because they kind of have to at this point if they're using options at all, or maybe they're just going to
Mhm.
double down on OTKing if they feel like they just need to be the speed. And Time Strangers is fucking up enough matchups for them where they can feel confident in doubling down on their OTK.
Yeah. Either way, I think that's a good point where we can stop here,
Yeah,
because we've been going for quite a minute, just ranting on everything.
yeah. I mean, like, we're just starting BT24 is kind of like my big takeaway with this data. So we don't have any competitive events to really see where this is going to be going. And next thing we know, EX11 is going to be coming out and changing everything. So that's kind of my big takeaway on this meta, at least as of right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, I think that's good. So thank you everyone for listening. It really does mean a lot to us. And we hope to see you all in the next episode.
Thank you all
Later.
for coming.
Yep. Later.